NASA is preparing to land humans on the moon for the first time in over 52 years. And the mission they are actively training for right now will put boots on a region of the lunar surface that no human being has ever visited, where the stakes of getting anything wrong are unlike anything attempted since Apollo. Artemis 3 is the mission that changes everything. While Artemis 1 flew an uncrewed Orion capsule around the moon in November 2022, and Artemis 2 is preparing to carry 4 astronauts on a crewed lunar flyby, Artemis 3 is the landing mission, the one where astronauts descend to the surface, step out, and conduct the first human exploration of the lunar South Pole. NASA is actively ramping up preparations across every major system required to make that landing happen, and the complexity of what is being assembled simultaneously across multiple programs is genuinely extraordinary. The 4 astronauts assigned to Artemis 3 have been announced by NASA. Commander Reid Wiseman, pilot Victor Glover, mission specialist Christina Koch, and Canadian Space Agency mission specialist Jeremy Hansen form the crew. Christina Koch is particularly significant in this mission context. She is scheduled to become the first woman to land on the moon, and Victor Glover will become the first person of color to do so. These are not just historic firsts for representation, they represent a deliberate expansion of who participates in humanity's most ambitious exploration missions. The hardware being prepared for Artemis 3 involves 3 separate spacecraft working in precise coordination. The Space Launch System rocket, the most powerful rocket NASA has ever built, generating 8.8 million pounds of thrust at liftoff, will carry the Orion capsule from Kennedy Space Center into a trajectory toward the moon. Orion will carry the crew approximately 240,000 miles to lunar orbit. From there, the crew will transfer to SpaceX's Starship human landing system, a specially configured variant of the Starship vehicle designed to descend from lunar orbit to the surface and return the crew back to orbit after surface operations are complete. The lunar South Pole target is not arbitrary. Orbital observations from multiple spacecraft, including NASA's Lunar Reconnaissance Orbiter and India's Chandrayaan missions, have confirmed the presence of water ice in permanently shadowed craters near the South Pole. This water ice is the most strategically important resource on the moon. It can be processed into drinking water for astronauts, used for radiation shielding, and most critically, split into hydrogen and oxygen through electrolysis to produce rocket propellant. A sustained human presence on the moon, and eventually missions to Mars, depend on being able to use lunar resources rather than carrying everything from Earth. Artemis 3's landing at the South Pole is therefore not just an exploration mission, it is reconnaissance for a permanent outpost. The surface operations plan for Artemis 3 are designed to maximize scientific return during the initial landing. Astronauts will conduct spacewalks, called moonwalks, in the new Axiom Space Exploration Extravehicular Mobility Unit spacesuits, designated Axiom-U. These suits represent a significant advancement over Apollo-era equipment, providing greater mobility, better thermal protection for the extreme temperature variations at the lunar South Pole, and life support systems capable of sustaining longer surface excursions. Astronauts will collect geological samples, deploy scientific instruments, and conduct observations of the permanently shadowed crater environments that have never been directly accessed by any mission in history. The timeline for Artemis 3 has been subject to the same pressures affecting NASA's broader program. SpaceX's Starship human landing system must complete a series of critical flight demonstrations before it is certified for crewed lunar use, including orbital propellant transfer between 2 Starship vehicles, which is a fundamental requirement of the lunar mission architecture. As of 2025, NASA and SpaceX are actively working through this development timeline, with the crewed lunar landing currently targeted for 2027 in the most current publicly available scheduling information, though timelines remain subject to technical progress. The financial scale of Artemis 3 preparation reflects the mission's ambition. NASA's Artemis program costs have been independently estimated at over $93 billion through the first landing, making it one of the most expensive scientific and exploration endeavors in human history. The SpaceX Human Landing System contract has reached approximately $4 billion across initial and follow-on awards. The Axiom spacesuit contract for AxiomU adds further investment to a program whose total cost reflects the genuine difficulty of returning humans to the moon with the safety standards and scientific capability that distinguish Artemis from Apollo. What makes this moment in preparation so significant is not just the technology or the budget. It is the proximity of the actual event. Engineers are working on flight hardware. Astronauts are training in high-fidelity simulators. Spacesuits are being tested in vacuum chambers. The SLS rocket for Artemis 2 is in processing at Kennedy Space Center. Every system required for the first lunar landing in 52 years is simultaneously in active development, testing, or final preparation. The moon is not a future destination anymore. It is the next destination, and the people who will walk on its surface for the first time since 1972 have already been named. So here is the question that I want you to genuinely reflect on and answer in the comments. When the Artemis 3 crew lands at the lunar South Pole and potentially confirms accessible water ice at the scale required for sustained operations, do you think that discovery will accelerate international cooperation in space or intensify competition between nations over lunar resources? Follow this page right now if you want every Artemis 3 development covered clearly and completely as it happens. Because when humans walk on the moon again, we will be here breaking down every moment of what it means for the future of our species.